You ever had that one neighbor, the one who gives you the kind of smile that feels more like a warning than a hello? Imagine living next door to someone who watches you quietly when they think you're not looking. You wave. They don't wave back. Summer nights are supposed to feel safe. Barbecues, laughter, open windows, and warm breezes. But what if, behind those breezes, behind the thin walls, someone's watching you, waiting for the perfect moment? I'm going to share 3 true disturbing stories where summer nights turned cold because of creepy neighbors who were far worse than anyone could imagine. These stories aren't just meant to scare you. They'll make you question who's living next door. Jason had just moved into a new home with his wife and 4-year-old daughter. Everything felt perfect until he noticed something strange about the house across the street. Every night around 11 p.m., their neighbor would turn on a red porch light. Nothing unusual about a colored bulb, right? But then came the noises. Not loud, just odd. Low humming like a chant. And sometimes a child's laugh. Jason assumed maybe it was the TV, but it went on every night for 3 weeks straight. One night, curiosity got the better of him. He stepped outside with a beer, leaned on his porch railing, and looked directly at the house. The red light flickered, then went out. Seconds later, the curtain pulled back, and Jason saw 2 eyes staring right back at him, unblinking. Then a second set of eyes, smaller, lower to the floor. A child? He backed into his house. The next morning he saw something on his front porch. A small red sock, a child's size. He didn't have red socks. His daughter didn't either. He checked their security cam. At 3:12 a.m., a figure, barefoot, walked across the street and placed it there. Jason froze. Because the figure wasn't a child. It was a tall woman, wearing a gas mask, holding the hand of something much smaller. Jason started sleeping with a bat by the bed. But the worst part? He could never figure out why they were doing it. There was no confrontation, no words, just silence. And that red light. Eventually, they moved. The day they were leaving, Jason looked across the street one last time. The woman stood there, waving. No mask, no child, just her. Anna was a 23-year-old student who moved into a guest house behind a large suburban home owned by a quiet, older man named Mr. Keene. He kept to himself, never caused problems. At first, he seemed sweet, brought her lemonade on hot days, offered to help fix her bike. But then he started knocking on her door, at night. Nothing loud, just a soft, slow knock. Around 2 a.m., no explanation. No one there when she looked out the window. Then one night, she found a Polaroid photo taped to her door. It was a picture of her, sleeping. Anna freaked out, changed her locks, bought pepper spray, reported it to the police. They couldn't prove anything. Mr. Keene denied everything, said he didn't even own a camera. But things got worse. One evening, Anna came home and found her mirror cracked. And written on the glass, in what looked like lipstick, were the words, "You're prettier when you're quiet." That was it. She packed her things and stayed with a friend. When she returned the next day to move out, the guest house was empty. All her things gone. No sign she'd ever lived there. And Mr. Keene? Gone too. She checked the main house. Vacant, furniture covered. Like no one had lived there in months. To this day, Anna doesn't know who Mr. Keene really was, or if that was even his real name. But somewhere out there, Someone has photos of her. Dozens, maybe. All taken while she slept. Ben was 12 when his family moved into a house with a big backyard. The fence was old, rotting in places, but sturdy. The neighbors behind them were strange. Never came out. All Ben ever saw was their dog, a skinny, aggressive thing with cloudy eyes. Then one day, Ben noticed a hole in the fence. Tiny at first, but growing bigger each week. He assumed it was the dog digging under. But one night, as he was falling asleep, he heard it. A whisper, coming from the backyard. He looked out and saw someone kneeling by the hole, not a kid, an adult, digging. Ben told his dad, but by morning the hole was filled in, like nothing happened. Then came the gift, a small wooden box, left by the fence. Inside was a folded note. Play with me tonight. Just you, or someone gets hurt. Ben didn't sleep for days. They called the police, but again, no evidence, no footprints, nothing. One night, Ben's little sister vanished from her room. They found her the next morning, asleep in the backyard, face down by the hole. Her arms were covered in dirt and scratches. When they asked her what happened, she just said, "The neighbor wanted to show me their game room." They moved immediately. But years later, as an adult, Ben drove past the old house. New fence, new owners. But behind the house, he saw someone standing there. Still. Watching. Like they'd been waiting for someone to come back. If you're still watching, maybe you've looked at your window once or twice by now. Maybe you're even wondering about that house across the street. Because here's the truth. Not every horror story happens in haunted houses. Sometimes the monster's been living next door all along. Subscribe if you want more true horror that feels too real. And be careful this summer night. You never know who's watching.